Hey, that's going to be good enough. So this is a road rant. Bringing back the road rants. So I've been working on a piece, a cultural piece for the ladies. And it's inspired by the manosphere, as they call it, and the femininity movement. When I say manosphere, I'm talking about the black manosphere, dudes like Kevin Samuels, Steph Coles, dudes like that. So this isn't really a personal development rant. You can extract personal development from it, but it's more of a distinction time. So this, I guess, is road rants meets distinction time. So there's feminism and there's femininity, and they're not only different, they are opposing ideologies. They are opposing ways of being. So, and they're vastly different, and one's great and the other one's terrible. Now, I'll start by taking a position in support of feminism. Feminism has its place, and it's called the workplace. Because the good thing about feminism is that it broke the traditional roles of women, in as much as, you stay home, you do the domestic chores, and how dare you walk outside, that type of stuff. So it broke that paradigm, which is useful. Because if people are going to thrive, and that's what we want people to thrive. We don't want people to live. If people are going to thrive, we want them to be I don't want to say unconstrained, but we don't want people to be unnecessarily constrained. For example, there are natural constraints as they violate the well-being of other people. Like, you can't just do whatever you want, because sometimes that hurts other people. And if you're of the stoic mindset like me, hurting others is hurting yourself. There's no distinction there. So feminism is good in that way. Feminism say, whoa, she don't have to stay home. Her hands work just like yours. Her brain works just like yours. Her body's just as able as yours. She can go to work. And then feminism is still useful in as much as it's working on equality for women in the workplace. Because, it was a huge milestone to break the paradigm of women in the workplace, but now it's, you better pay her the same amount. Right? So that's still a thing. And there are multiple factors as to why women don't make as much money as men, generally speaking. I do think there is a bias to underpay women, but I do think that's one of about 30 factors as to why women are not making as much money as men. It is a factor, but it's only, I don't think it's the whole story. So feminism is useful in that way. Feminism is useful to ensure women are allowed to participate in professions, including sports, that the men are allowed to participate in. That's called fair enough. The problem with feminism is that it only works in the workplace. Because the workplace should be a gender-neutral skills over everything, meritocracy. But that doesn't work for a relationship. In a relationship, the behavior between men and women is not supposed to be the same. Men have certain traits and abilities that serve women. It compensates for natural deficiencies in those areas. And it does it voluntarily from a loving place. But if you apply the feminist mindset to a relationship, you are turning a relationship into a job. You are turning your man into your coworker. That's not okay. Nothing about that is okay. Yes, you have to work on things. Yes, you have to share stress. Yes, you have to function as a micro business in a relationship. But that never turns your partner romantically into your colleague. That should never be the case. It's fine to compete with men at work. It's not fine to compete with your man at home on basis of manhood. It's not okay. And secondly, the solution to this problem of bringing professional ethics to a relationship and turning a relationship into a meritocracy as opposed to a comfortable place for affection, the solution to it is femininity. That is the solution. The solution is when your significant other is involved, you lean into your differences. You lean into whatever you can lean into to accentuate your distinctions. Sure, you may want to have common activities. Sure, you may want to have, similar dreams and ideals, etc., etc. But a man wants a woman to be a woman. He never wants her to be a man at all. This is why feminism is bad for relationships. It needs to be an ideology that you only enact for professional reasons. As soon as you take feminism out of the workplace, you're creating problems. You're creating imaginary standards and stuff along those lines. For example, if a guy hooks up with a bunch of women, society sees that as an accomplishment and he's like a stud or whatever. But if a woman hooks up with a bunch of guys, it is a point of shame. And feminism will have you believe that you should be proud of that. Shouldn't. To be honest, the man shouldn't be proud of it either. But the reason that it's culturally more acceptable for the man is because of the difficulty that men have in pursuing women. A man typically will hook up as much as he can, which is going to be a lot less than a woman can. It's a lot less mentally, physically, and emotionally. I mean, let's just be honest. All things being fair, If you set one man out for 24 hours and you set a woman out for 24 hours to see who can have the most sex, the woman is going to dominate. Because she's going to be able to do it with the greatest of ease. Therefore, anything that is done so easily is not valued. I like to talk a lot about martial arts and to watch a lot of martial arts. So I'll use a martial arts example. If Conor McGregor, is winning a UFC fight, that's a big deal because of the difficulty. But if Conor McGregor is just walking around your town knocking everybody out, he's a fucking villain. I don't understand. Knocking people out is knocking people out. No, it's not. The difference is the difficulty in doing it. That is why it's not good for men to have a high body count. But it's worse for a woman to do it. It's not the same. What else? So let's define femininity. Femininity is the art of womanhood. Femininity is an art. A powerful one at that. I would argue that femininity is a superpower. Feminism is just a political structure for equality, which is fine outside a relationship, outside the home. It's perfectly useful in a professional endeavor. It's perfectly useful in social endeavors. It's just terrible for relationships. I mean, masculinity is the same way. Masculinity outside the home is great to a certain point, and then it becomes toxic. Masculinity in a relationship is great to a certain point, but then it becomes toxic. And femininity, feminism can be the same way. It can become toxic. Because you can be so hyped up on trying to be like a man that you forget that you're not. And it's off-putting, emasculating, and demeaning to the actual men. Because he's not as much of a man as you are. You call him the nice guy. But femininity is very different. Femininity is the art of womanhood. Femininity is incredibly powerful. A feminine act can daze a man. It can captivate and hypnotize a man that no masculine act could ever do. You will not impress a man with your income. You will not impress a man with your physical prowess. You won't. You won't impress him with your acumen with things, technology, mechanics. You will not impress a man with that. Because he knows that those same traits are available in himself and other men to a greater degree. In order to wow a man, you have to do something only a woman can do. And it doesn't have to be anything extreme, or it doesn't even have to be difficult. It just has to be uniquely feminine. There's a way in which women can move their hips that can seduce a man for 30 years. There's a way in which there's a quality of movement pattern and a delicateness of gesture and expression that in a split second can get a man to change his entire life plan. That's the power of femininity. The power of femininity is a man having a hard day at work, and it can all be emotionally erased with one hip sway, one soft touch, one smile, one glance, and all the problems just disappear. You're not going to get that in a competitive space. You're not going to get that by being manly. So femininity is incredibly powerful, and it's incredibly attractive. And femininity is the reason that relationships succeed and persist. The majority of relationships that fail, it is because masculine traits were displayed by the woman. And or feminine traits displayed by the man. It is what it is. Now, I'm not talking about outside the relationship. I'm not talking about in the workplace. I'm not talking about in society and culture. I'm not talking about that. A woman can be just as masculine and strong and powerful outside the relationship as she wants. But inside the relationship, there needs to be a masculine and feminine balance. I mean, look at UFC women. You can't get tougher than that. There's no way. But in their relationship, they utilize their femininity to keep their man happy and hovering. To give him the freedom to do what he can do, as it is different from what she can do. So understand that. Understand that feminism is a useful ideology in the workplace and in social issues, but it is a disaster for relationships. And femininity may not always be appropriate in the workplace or depending on the cultural battlefield. But femininity is what creates successful relationships. So, I guess it really depends on what you want. You can have it all. You can be a full-throated feminist when you leave your house. And when you come back home, you can activate femininity to enrich the relationship. You can have it all. You just can't be the same way all the time. You can't be at work the same way you are, when you're having quality time with your partner. Like, that's not useful. It's not useful for men either. I mean, even the man needs to soften up at home. He needs to still be masculine, but he can't be, treating his woman like an opponent or competition. So, I hope that's useful. Obviously, it'll be better illustrated when I write it, but that's one of the ideas that I wanted to share with you all that I'm developing. It's feminism, great for work, bad for home, and femininity, great for home, not really useful for work. All right, that's all.